Sup flappers, welcome back to another video. So this video you guys might be already on edge, like comparing Raiden with Kokomi, two different characters, uncomparable. This shouldn't even be made, there shouldn't be a comparison, but don't mistake in this video, I'm not comparing these two in like an area of DPS or support utility or functionality, whatever, right? Right now this video is going to exist to help people to differentiate between which characters they need more for their teams to get more value out of their current existing rosters. So I hope that made sense. Don't think of this video as like who's better than the other person. They're not in the same category. In fact, they're as far apart from each other as you can get with this game when it comes to roles. So hope this video helps you guys out. For people who are asking me questions regarding Raiden and Kokomi, I aim to answer most if not all of them in this particular video. Finally, I want to iterate both of these characters are to be considered at C0 with relative free-to-play options as to help as many people who probably need this kind of information as possible. Okay, so starting with Raiden Shogun. This character is beloved by many and is essentially seen as like the crux of power and efficiency when it comes to the game. And then we have Kokomi, right? This sweetheart of a character who received a wave of hate during her initial release, but now have garnered a lot of attention and interest. What are the differences between the two, and what kind of players would need Kokomi over Raiden Shogun or vice versa? So now that we're in the team building screen, it's much easier to help you guys understand what's the process of building a successful Raiden team. At C0, many of you guys may be considering to pick up Raiden to maybe support your currently existing rosters. For example, someone who has a Eula might think, I want to pick up Raiden, and while that may be a good place to start, Raiden is far from her best role when played as a support DPS. So a team such as this oftentimes is fielded by players who want to supercharge their Eula with Raiden as their support DPS. And while yes, this team functions fine and is one of the better Eula teams out there, it doesn't really highlight Raiden Shogun and her potential. So for you guys to get a better understanding of what Raiden is mostly played as, we have to essentially take her from the support position into the main DPS position. And this, of course, is not going to be Raiden Shogun's best teams. In fact, you're going to have to remove two of these characters and swap in your 4 stars. Essentially, this team that you're currently looking at is one of the more popular Raiden teams, and for good reason. The damage ceiling and potential of this team is very high, especially with Xiangling, Raiden Shogun, and of course Sucrose. The whole point of this team is to supercharge Raiden and also have Xiangling as an off-field supporting cast, right, being able to snapshot Bennett's burst with Sucrose shredding either for Pyro or for Electro. Really, it doesn't matter all too much that I found. I've seen a lot of numbers being thrown around, but personally, for myself and being able to ask a ton of my audience, having them show me proof, a C0 free-to-play Raiden with R5 catch, you are looking at around 200k. That's essentially as high as you can. We're talking cracked artifact stats, 60 to maybe 150, close to 160 crit damage with 280 plus energy regen, and of course running an attack percentage goblet. So with all those parameters, we are not taking into account a C6 Sara. Yes, you are able to push the limits even higher with a C6 Sara, but please, this is more for free to play to understand. With this team that you're seeing right here on screen, 200k is not out of the question with around 35k charge attack when in her burst state. And we're seeing people saying that their C0 Raiden with R5 catch without a C6 Sara can hit 500k, even 300k plus. It's very, very difficult, and I don't want to discredit these people saying that, but honestly, I just feel like the math and numbers don't add up at that point. 300k is already really pushing the limit. I believe 200k right now. I think I've seen 220k in certain instances of the Abyss, but if you're saying 300k, and I've heard claims that 300k easy in the open world as well, I don't think that is a free-to-play Raiden, and anybody who says that, you guys should really be careful of what they're claiming. So for people who are watching, if you're fitting these parameters, C0 Raiden, R5 catch without a C6 Sara, please comment down below so to give everybody a good idea of what your Raiden Shogun is hitting for. I know a lot of you guys take pride in building a very strong Raiden at C0, and for people who are curious as to picking one up for themselves, make sure to comment your crit rate, your crit damage, your energy recharge, and whether you're running attack percentage goblet or electro damage goblet. And of course, the highest you've ever hit with her burst skill, and if you can remember what her follow-up normal attacks as well as her charge attacks were like. Because right now I see too many numbers flying around and it's giving people a false sense of security or power scaling when it comes to this character. In my personal experience, around 150 to 160 is what most people should be getting, along with around 28 to 30k charge attack with 18k 19k normal attacks, and that is without, again, C6 Sara. Pick up Raiden Shogun if you want to build a hyper carry team. I think that's where the value truly is at. Honestly, I'm not a huge fan of C0 Raiden for many reasons, as I do feel like she eats up a lot of resources, but if you're going to pick one up, it's such a waste to slap her into a Eula support DPS team. Of course, you can still run her like that, but you want to try to funnel as much resources into Raiden Shogun as you possibly can, because that's where you're going to find the most success. Following that, we have Sangonomiya Kokomi, because this character functions as many different roles in the game. She can be a driver, she can be a support, she can be a dedicated healer, and she can be a hydro applicator, and oftentimes she fits many roles at the same time. So what kind of players are going to be looking to pick up Kokomi essentially over Raiden Shogun? I know a tall task to ask, but there are definitely scenarios where you might want to consider Kokomi over Raiden Shogun in the upcoming banners. The most popular teams for Kokomi right now exist as freeze teams, and of course I know there are her driver electro charge teams, but let's just go through this first. If you have both Ayaka and Ganyu, do consider Kokomi as one of currently the most prominent hydro applicators, and that is of course not with on hit but with area of effect. Of course, with her jellyfish, she is able to control the field while healing your on-field character, as well as applying a wide range of hydro. And with Kokomi's burst skill being able to extend the duration of this jellyfish with the burst ending and then having her jellyfish CD back again, it's without a shadow of a doubt that if you want to play a good freeze team, Kokomi is going to be atop the list, as she's also going to double as your team's healer. Now, as you see, I have the 4th slot left open, and that is because if you really want to go hard on this team, Shenhe is going to be fitting this last position perfectly. And as you guys may have seen in my videos, I've demonstrated this team many times, with Shenhe being able to retroactively apply her talisman elemental skill to buff up the damage of both Ayaka and Ganyu, who have extended bursts. Kokomi's prolonged hydro application just adds to the amount of cryo that is being applied on field, and essentially nothing gets to move unless they're immune to freeze, which currently are just the big bosses of the game. But even with the Magu Genki, it's very easy to deal with them, because the amount of healing that Kokomi can provide is just going to outperform the damage that the Magu Genki is able to dish out. And remember, this is a floor 12 Magu Genki, so if you're able to out heal that, right now currently there's nothing in game that this character cannot over heal from, and that is a level 70 Kokomi, who is very cheap for me to build. But of course, talking about Kokomi, we have to talk about her electro driver teams, and this is one variation of the many ones that people like to play. And of course, it has Fischl in it, because every team with electro has to have Fischl in it. Understand, this team essentially has your healer on field with like 37k plus HP, and a lot of these characters that are just going to be off-field supports that provides either shred or just elemental application. Don't be fooled, this team is actually incredibly potent, and a lot of people play it, especially if you want to just crush through content without ever needing to look on screen or care about what you're doing. It's as easy to play as it can get. You drop everything and you just use Kokomi to hit, apply hydro, spread electro charge, and then once in a while switch to Kazuha, use your elemental skill and apply viridescence, and you're done. There's no complications. And sure, it may not be as flashy as the Raiden Shogun team, but this is something that people can also turn to if you don't have freeze teams. But let's be honest, if you're gonna be using Kokomi as the main DPS, and most people are gonna be saying, oh, I need somebody who can take the field, and it's a toss-up between Kokomi and Raiden Shogun, it's pretty obvious most people are gonna pick Raiden Shogun, right, myself included. But I'm showing you guys this because as an option, you guys can definitely play Kokomi outside of freeze teams. Of course, there's also the Coco Momon team that people have been craving about. In the Mono team, you're just gonna throw Sucrose, Xiangling, Fischl. Goal is throw out Guoba, throw out your Oz, and then you swirl Kokomi, get everything together. Yes, I'm kind of just talking over it because, to be completely honest with you, this team is too complex for me to play, and it definitely is not as simple as it seems on the surface. So maybe look towards a guide if you're interested about this particular Kokomi team. What I'm trying to show you is that Kokomi is not just a one-dimensional healing character that's meant to be slapped into a healing role and stay there for an oblivion. And I definitely think that HoYoverse is now designing characters with more intentions to have them flex into more roles, and with indicative of the driver position, which people have come up with, saying that a lot of these characters are able to front field the team to act as the basis for elemental reactions that the rest has to offer. Finally, going back to summarize everything, for people who are looking for a dedicated and strong, essentially carry character who can take the field and supercharge your teams, go for Raiden Shogun. If you have Xiangling, Bennett built up and you're looking for that team, you know Raiden's gonna get you that dough. But just know that characters like Ganyu are also fighting for similar supports. So Raiden Shogun essentially is going to hog a big chunk of your resources, and trust me when I say this character demands a lot of resources. Not only are you going to be spending a lot of time if you have the R5 catch, if you don't, you got to go farm for that, but as well as pouring an insane amount of resin into her artifacts. And I hope a lot of you guys have already gotten on that, because if you're only going to start farming artifacts after getting the characters, I'm telling you, your Raiden is not going to reach peak potential for a very long time. With the case of Kokomi, I definitely would urge you guys to pick her up if you're really wanting to complete a good freeze team, especially if you already have Ayaka and Ganyu, or if you're planning to pick up Ayaka as well on her rerun in the future. Shinhe is not a must, but having her is just a no-brainer in this case. I think Kokomi is a very cheap character to build. She doesn't require much, and her stats are very easy to flesh out, with HP being a scaling stat for her. Overall, I would say I've poured a quarter of the resources into Kokomi that I have in Raiden, and to be completely honest, throughout Abyss, having Kokomi's presence, she's more of a utility feature character as opposed to her being a damage dealer. So of course, she's going to feel much more potent and present with just her abilities and her application, as opposed to looking at her damage. For Raiden, if her damage is not even cresting 100k for you, chances are she's not going to provide as much value as you think she would. You really want to push her numbers higher, and you want to balance her substats in all her artifacts to make sure that she's able to shine, and that could be a lengthy process for a lot of people. Trust me when I say Raiden is not just a plug and play character, while Kokomi is. This is going to be the biggest differentiation. How dedicated are you to these characters, to developing them? And of course, Kokomi can receive a lot of investments of resources to make her even more potent, but definitely that is not needed for her, whereas Raiden, it is a necessity. All right, with that said, hope you guys understand all this. For Raiden, she's best played as a hyper carry, and at C0 support, DPS Raiden just feels a little lackluster, whereas Kokomi, she's best played in freeze teams, whereas she can also be played in a lot of electro charge and variety of teams for her to be a driver for. And going forward, both of these characters seems to play very well with the meta, with Raiden potentially going to get targeted earlier than Kokomi. So we're gonna have to see what goes on there. All right, people comment down below, who are you going for and what constellation you want to get these characters towards, because I'm really excited to see what people are planning to do and maybe get a glimpse into if Raiden is going to set a new record for her banner sales. All right, until next time, I urge you all to stay safe and peace.